Welcome into the latest edition of the Stealin' with the Boys podcast. I am your host, Junie Riddle, here along with my boys,
Juwan Williams and Coach Campbell.
Ellis, I mean, we hyped this Commanders game up to be the game of the year to this point, but the way that game played out, it could be one of the best games of the entire season. Juwan was unfortunately, he was at a wedding, so he wasn't watching with the boys like he usually does.
Yeah.
But Trey and I were out at the new local Steelers bar that we've been watching with a group of fans, and man, was that game lit. Back and forth, up and down the field. I mean, we were down by 10 points in the second half at one point. The comeback win was just so sweet in that instance. Steelers 7-2. Now 8 games left, 6 of which against the AFC North. We'll get into that a little bit later. So, Juwan, since I was watching with Trey, I kind of want to hear your opinion on the game first. Where were you at? What were the vibes in the fourth quarter? And what was your reaction with the awesome Mike Williams final touchdown to end the game?
Man, my friends had a wedding. Shout out to Marquise and Lex. Had a wedding.
Congratulations.
But, before the wedding, when I was sitting there waiting for everybody, I'm watching the game. I was watching the first half. I watched the first 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters. And then after that, I was like, I'm not going to watch it during the ceremony, so I'll wait. So I went to the reception, and I saw he was down 10. I was like, I'm not watching this. Then I went back to it. I was like, oh. Because I kept on getting the alerts on ESPN. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let me watch it. And then I watched the fourth quarter. But, I mean, all I can say is I felt like it was I don't know about y'all, but I felt like it was like a playoff vibe. Like, it was going back and forth. It was like a roller coaster. How Steelers play. A roller coaster game. You got ups and downs, but at the end, you always going to find a way to get it done. And they did. And, boy, that was a rough one. I seen like bits and pieces of it. So y'all, I know y'all was stressing.
Yeah, I mean, man, that game was. I felt like, I don't know, the overall vibe. I felt like we were in control of most of the game. And the biggest thing that happened, like that changed momentum, and it changed momentum for the worse, was the James Pierre drop fake punt. Like, that could have kept the momentum in our favor, and I think we really would have just kept putting it on the Commanders. Like, I mean, I don't know. We gave them short fields. Like, their offense really didn't do too much against us. You look at their yards; they had the worst yards of their season against us. Jayden Daniels had the worst game of a season against us. Like,
only completed 50% of his passes.
Yeah, that, and yardage wise, like their run game, like they beat us in the run game when they were in the red zone. But other than that, like, they really couldn't get their run game going either. So I think we had control of that game. It doesn't look like it at all, but I think we just gave them a lot of short fields, and they capitalized on it in turnovers. That pick really didn't mean too much. It was pretty much a punt. But that momentum change was when James Pierre dropped that fake punt, and that, I feel like that gave them momentum. They ran with it. We got it back in the fourth quarter, and you saw what happened. The rest is history.
Can I be honest with y'all?
Yeah. I
went back and rewatched it because obviously emotions are high in the midst of a game. We were down by 10 points in the second half, and I genuinely feel like when you're so emotionally invested with it, you don't get to really clearly see the product fully until you go back and watch. And when I did go back and watch, knowing what the outcome eventually was, I felt like we low-key dominated the Commanders. And I'm not lying to you. I mean, realistically, we gave them a touchdown with the fake punt. If Pierre catches that, I mean, the way special teams have been playing, that should have been an easy first down. And, whether the drive stalls out and they have to punt, I mean, you're not giving them the ball inside the red zone, their own red zone. So we basically handed them a touchdown there. Outside of the drive right before the end of the first half and the drive that kicked off the second half, their offense didn't move at all. I mean, during that short span, couple minutes of the end of the first half, the first drive in the second half, that's the only time they legitimately moved the ball. And they got 2 touchdowns out of that. We handed them a touchdown and held them to 2 field goals. Outside of that, the defense played really, really well, and I feel like the stats will show that. But, the offense, man, what a way with the run game not really being there, capitalizing on opportunistic plays, those third downs to George Pickens, that ball that he threw on the sideline where he toe tapped, that slant over the middle, he breaks a couple tackles and keeps it going, the adjustment that he made. I mean, it was just, I felt like the offense wasn't as smooth as it has been against the Giants and the Jets, but man, did they seize on big opportunistic plays, and nothing more fitting than Mike Williams getting in that play when Calvin Austin went down, running the same route Calvin did, and just beating his guy, and Russ throwing that perfect moon ball right into him, and getting the win. I mean, overall, it was a great team win. Some things to critique and to get after, but all in all, I mean, you can't be upset with them really kind of holding down the number 3 ranked offense in the NFL the way that they did.
Yeah, and like you were just saying, like they had a couple big plays like that Terry McLaurin to open the second half on a slant for 50-some yards, put them right in the red zone. Like you said, I think without those splash plays, like they get those couple splash plays, they didn't move the ball, like you said. And our offense, that's another big thing. Like our offense, we've been missing the big splash plays, and I feel like that's all we had this past game. Like big splash plays in the past game. Like you said, our run game wasn't there too often. But those big splash plays, man, that's only going to open up our offense and open up the run game as well. Like I said earlier in the season, I wanted to see our pass game open up the run game. I think we can finally do that with Russ and, Mike Williams joining in there with George Pickens, throwing it downfield. I think it's only going to help our offense.
I want to say this. George Pickens is a dog. And I know he has his crazy antics that he do during the game, especially when on that interception when
he tackled the DB.
Tackled the dude, the DB.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
Just slammed him.
Yeah, and I was like, but it's George. And then when he jumped in the air and stiff armed the DB.
I saw something on Twitter, bro. On Twitter, it said like, George Pickens, his Y button's always stuck. Like when he's playing Madden, his Y button's always stuck. He's literally always jumping. Like I don't know where. Even on that slant route, at the end of the slant route, did you see him jump? Like at the end,
he did.
He did that juke and then he jumped. And I'm like, what is he doing?
Well, remember the game that you went to last year, that Jags game. He did a little jump. And
he jumped.
He scored on it because the DB couldn't wrap his legs up. I mean, I gotta say something because after the Dallas game and George Pickens' effort in that game. I was a proponent of, hey, if you don't get your act together, I don't care. Like, trade him, get him out of here. I'm starting to really regret the fact that I said that.
I don't even know why.
And I feel, well, I mean, in the moment, I'd listen. We all, and I think anybody can relate to this. Ever since George has been in the league, he's had subpar quarterback play to be able to get him the ball. Obviously, with what we've seen with Russ, I mean, you count the Giants game as well. I mean, he's obviously looking like the number 1 top 10 talented receiver that we truly think George is. And when you're a guy that's that talented and you're constantly around quarterbacks that can't give you the ball in order to show your talent, even at any of our jobs, there are always obstacles that we wish this could be better, or wish we could be better. Even though we like our job, we always think that there's something that can be better, and sometimes we get frustrated. And I think that's kind of what George is doing. He's showing his frustration because things weren't up to par. So, George, if you ever heard my comments, which you may or may not have, I do apologize, and I take it back because you're a stud. And with a competent quarterback who throws it up and actually gives you chances, you're looking like a legitimate top 10, borderline top 5 offensive talent in the entire league. And so I got to take it back.
I literally tweeted this. I put it on Threads. I was like, y'all can argue with your mama, but George is the top 10 receiver when he has a quarterback. He has a quarterback with Russ that knows how to use him. He is a top 10 receiver. And I don't care what y'all say.
Yeah, I think top 5. But, I mean, well, I won't say top 5. I said top 6, 7. Range.
I'm giving him top 10 for now, but I think he has potential to be top 5.
I just think a lot, like when you look at some of these top receivers in the league, Like you look at a Tyreek Hill or you look at a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase. They either have superstar quarterbacks or they have offensive-minded coaches that puts them in situations that, make them look like superstars. Like Mike McDaniels, schemes them open. Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson the same way. Like they have guys that put them in good situations. And even then, like Kirk Cousins wasn't a bad quarterback. Like he was a solid, like these guys have been made to look well. But when you have a defensive minded coach in Mike Tomlin paired with bad quarterback play, like you're not scheming anybody open. But now we have Russell Wilson that's given, our offense some juice and giving our receivers some opportunities. And Arthur Smith and his scheme is the best scheme that we've had and probably since Todd Haley was here with the Steelers. So, I mean, things are just kind of falling into place and you're really starting to see what George can do. And, I mean, say what you want about him and his personality and what he does. I just don't think that there's another receiver in the game right now that can adjust and has the body control that George Pickens has. Again, there's other features and other things that guys can do, but there's definitely not a guy that can do the spectacular catch and go up and get it and have the wherewithal and the body control to get in bounds the way that George can.
You said something. You pointed out something, and I'm just going to say another point that I want to make. Shout out to Coach Smith. OC. He stuck to the game plan when we was down 10. He, if we was down, most teams that when they're down 10, they want to throw the ball, get like heavy on the throws. But he stuck to the game plan. He know that they're not good at rush defense, so he continued to run the ball and still had pass plays in it. But he still ran the ball, and with that, went down the field. Najee scored. Was back down 3. We continue. I think that since Todd Haley, he's been the best.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily, not a question.
Todd Haley too. So. And another thing I want to just point out is like Mike Tomlin always says we don't live in our fears. Like he finally, I feel like, put that all together in one game. Although the fake punt did not work, I shouldn't say I love the call.
I love the call. I hate the execution.
Yes.
I hate the player that tried to catch it.
Yeah. I know you do. We all know you hate him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like just seeing him go for it on 4th and 1, almost twice. I guess he did Russell Wilson's cadence got us that win. But he went for it on 4th at one point in the game. I forget. It was right around midfield. We got that and we scored on that drive. So like just for him to put his words into action this past game, it's good to see. And like I've been saying, I feel like this team's different, and it's good to see Mike Tomlin finally trusting his offense to get that 1 yard when we need it.
Can I say some concerns?
Yeah, go ahead.
Our DBs. Not George Pickens. JPJ got exposed. He has a reputation of, being, I wouldn't say locked down, but being someone that, will make you have one of your worst games, I would say.
Yeah, he really limits production on a lot of receivers.
McLaurin was killing that boy.
But you listen. I know a lot of people don't think Terry McLaurin is like that.
That's why I wanted him on the team.
But let me tell you this. Terry McLaurin is like that. He is genuinely like that. You want to talk about bad quarterback play and a guy that has elevated his game and consistently gotten 1,000 yards every single season in his career with worse quarterbacks than we've even had. I mean, I bet at times he wish he had a Kenny Pickett over some of the guys. I mean, that's how bad the quarterback play in Washington has been. And now with Jayden Daniels coming in and playing the way that he's played, you're really starting to see what Terry McLaurin actually is. Nobody going into this season would have said Terry McLaurin is a for sure lockdown top 10 receiver. But with his talent, I mean, he is. And for Joey, it's probably Joey Porter Jr.'s worst game. The only other game that comes to mind that was worse than that was that Seattle game, and he ended up bouncing back and making a play in that game last year because DK Metcalf was kind of, out physicaling him because of, his size and whatnot. But all in all, I agree with you. Joey Porter Jr., had a rough game, but I'm not worried about Joey. I'm not. And I'm gonna tell you why, just real quick.
No, you're good.
In the locker room, I mean, he knew he was probably the reason that the Commanders were still in the game. I mean, his fouls were the reason they scored on that drive to end the first half, and that big play to open up the third was the reason they scored again early in the third quarter. He had to know, but what was he doing? He was smiling, joking, and excited about getting the win. The thing about Joey Porter Jr. is, yeah, he's physical, and sometimes that's good because he takes a receiver out of the play, and other times it's not because he gets a penalty. But he doesn't let it get to his head. And I feel like Joey's one that if something bad happens, he lets it go, he moves on, he forgets about it, and he steps up afterward. So, if anything, I'm really happy that Joey decided to have his worst game right before we play the Baltimore Ravens. And so, I get it. I definitely have some concerns, and he needs to limit the physicality in some of those instances. But at the same time, that physicality is the reason that takes receivers out of the play, and that quarterbacks don't look that direction anyway.
Yeah, but he has a problem with hand grabbing.
Yeah,
and that's what this is what I want to point out. You guys have great points. Joey Porter has the least separation yards, like percentage of separation, in all the league. And part of that is because of physical play that he has, him like grabbing at the line, him pressing at the line, and we also gotta look at what our defense does. So a lot of our defense is man coverage. Most teams don't run as much man coverage as that we do. He's pressing a lot of the times. Like we gotta kind of like see it in perspective. From our defense is requiring him to get up in a receiver's face, requiring him to be man-to-man a lot of the time, and that's going to happen. Like, you don't have many defenses that play man like we do or press as much as we do. So those things are going to happen. What I like to see is that he's not allowing separation when he's playing man or when he's pressing, because a lot of corners can't press like Joey Porter Jr. Like, they'll get burnt right off the line. Like, so we got to kind of give and take in that sense. Yes, he had a lot of holds this game, and that could be the officiating. Like, the officials could be seeing it differently, but some games you won't have that.
So another thing that really bothered me in this game as well, if we're talking about Joey Porter Jr. having a bad game, one of my steals of the week, I thought Jaylen Warren was going to have a very impactful game in this game. And if you look at the stats, yards per carry, it was kind of a Jaylen Warren game. He was the one that was kind of busting off the big ones. But the one thing that always bothers me, and I know it bothers you all as well with Jaylen Warren, is as explosive as this guy can be, he is a habitual fumbler. And I don't think that there was ever a worse fumble that Jaylen Warren has had in his career. What was it? 5 minutes left in the game, somewhere around that, Trey?
At the 1 yard line.
At the 1 yard line. And I know a lot of Steeler fans are saying that they thought the whistle had blown and that there was forward progress, but at the end of the day, like, you can't leave it doubt. And when you're a running back or really anybody, fumbling is one of the biggest no-nos that you just shouldn't do. Like, you should never put the ball on the ground. And when you do, a lot of times you don't get back in the game that day. Unfortunately, Jaylen Warren got some help. You know, the defense stopped him and forced a punt and got the ball back in good field position. And obviously we saw what happened with Mike Williams, but is this just going to be something that we're going to have to deal with Jaylen Warren going forward? I don't know.
So another thing I was saying, because I said it to you, Junior, when this was happening, Jaylen kept getting carry after carry after carry. Like, he drove us down. Like, credit to him, he drove us down the field that whole series. And when I said we were getting close to the red zone, and like, I was like, he's literally had probably 5-6 carries in a row. I think it was in a row. Maybe there was one in between where he didn't get a carry, but 5-6 carries in a row. He was in the game that whole series.
I know he had at least 3 or 4.
Yeah. So what I was saying to you, I was like, where's Najee at? And I know Najee's banged up a little bit, so that might have been a reason he wasn't in. But I was like, Jaylen has had a lot of carries. We need to get somebody else in there right now. And then, sure enough, he got that carry and fumbled at the 1 yard line. Like, there goes to show at some point, like, our rotation of running backs is a great thing. he had like you said, maybe four carries in a row and long carries. Like he's probably tired at that point. So to his credit, he might have been tired. You got to hold on to that ball, but I think we also needed to rotate somebody else in there. Like I think that plays part of it as well. Like he just kept getting the ball over and over again. You do get tired, and he's getting hit every play. Like rotate somebody in, put Najee in, or if Najee's not good, put Patterson in. Like especially at that point. I mean, he had how many carries in a row?
Yeah.
So that was.
I'm gonna look that up, by the way. Go ahead, Jordan.
That's always been my biggest issue with Warren. Like I remember last year we had an episode where people were asking or calling for Warren to be a starter over Najee, and I was saying my biggest issue with him is him fumbling. And now when he fumbled on Sunday, maybe I was just speaking like as a diehard, but I was like, just at that time, just bench him and put Patterson in for the rest of the game, because that was a big moment. Once that happened, to me, I thought we lost that game.
Oh, I did too.
I wasn't there yet because I thought the defense would get a stop. I knew with the way that we were kind of getting at them and how quick they were throwing the ball that I didn't think with them all the way backed up they were going to take much of a risk. So I knew we would get another chance, but I thought, man, that scoring right there could have just made a huge statement. And even if the Commanders say they did go down and score, it would give us another time to respond. So did it put more pressure on that last drive to score a touchdown? It sure did. But I wasn't too worried about that.
Mind you,
And to your credit, Trey, you're right. He did. He had 5 carries in a row before he fumbled. I'm looking at it right now.
And one was pretty long, I believe.
Jaylen Warren up the middle for 5 yards. Jaylen Warren for 3 yards. Jaylen Warren for 10 yards. Jaylen Warren for 3 yards. Jaylen Warren for 7 yards, and then fumble. Jaylen Warren also doesn't have a touchdown this year, and I think maybe the mindset was
I'm trying to get in the end zone.
Let's get Jaylen in the end zone. Najee's down. This is Cordell. It's Patterson's first game back. He's running well. He's getting chunk yards. So maybe that has something to do with it. Either way, it's just happened way too many times for it not to be a problem, and it's just something that Jaylen Warren has to fix. Guys have started off rough with fumbles before, and they fixed it. So I'm really hoping that Jaylen does fix it, because he's just too talented of a back just to have this be a habitual problem.
I want to point one more thing out right after that fumble happened. The officials, again, I don't know if they just don't like TJ Watt or what's going on, but he got held in the end zone, which should have been a safety.
Yeah, that should have been safety.
Like, things like that have been happening over and over again, especially to TJ Watt, and I just don't understand if it's like a league thing. Like, we know TJ's so good, we can't give him every call. You're not giving him any calls. Like, his stat sheet, nothing against TJ, because they were chipping him, doing whatever they could to not let him impact the game.
Triple teaming him at some points.
And that's my point. Like people are coming, Browns fans especially, are coming at like TJ had no stats this game, blah blah blah. Like you gotta see what is happening to this man. He's getting mauled, he's getting drugged to the ground, and he's not getting any calls. Like that makes an impact if he's getting those calls. That safety, we would have got the ball back. We would have been up by what would it be?
Well, we would have been down by
4.
No, we would have been.
We were down by
6.
4. We would have been down by 4, so a touchdown would have put us up by 3.
Right.
And because I saw a lot of Washington fans talking about the placement on the 4th down call, and I'm saying, well, we didn't get the safety call, and if that was the case, then you're kicking to go to overtime. You're not kicking to win.
With that placement call, first of all, he had his momentum on the other side of the.
I think it was a good spot.
I thought it was a perfect spot.
When he caught it behind the yellow line.
And then he was touched with his knee down.
With his knee down.
It was close. I will say they gave him a terrible spot, but I still don't think he got the first down.
Like it was inches.
Yeah,
it was inches.
It was
away
inches,
from being first
not
down.
a whole yard like they had it.
Another one that I've seen that a lot of people have been bringing up is Dante Jackson getting hold on a field goal block.
Oh, yeah, missed that one too.
Yeah, he definitely got hit.
So Washington fans coming out on Twitter talking about the refs were on the Steelers side. I think that is a terrible take, for one. And not only that, one of your pivotal touchdowns drives to go up going into the half. I mean, you got 3. I would say at least 2 of them were questionable calls, but 3 calls going your way to help you move down the field and get that touchdown to go up 3 at halftime. So, Commanders fans, it was a great game, but all in all, y'all lost. You did, because you had every opportunity to win, and the Steelers still came out and stole that game away. So, last thing I do want to touch on before we do get into this big game this week against the Ravens at home, the new additions made major impact.
Mike
Williams obviously had the game winner. Everybody's seen it, but Preston Smith making that huge. I don't know if they counted as a sack or they counted as a
sack.
Yeah, it was a sack.
It was a
but
sack.
That big tackle for loss, that sack on the lateral play was huge. And I think all day when you look at him, the way that he was kind of sealing the edge and playing, it seems like he fits into this defense seamlessly. And the fact that he's not even a starter, and he's a guy that's coming off the bench and just in that rotation, it just takes this defense to a whole nother level. So those guys coming in with Highsmith getting hurt with the ankle, only 2 to 3 weeks, an ankle sprain, but shout out to Omar Khan again. We already gave you your flowers last week, but can't add this emphasis enough. Going out and getting players that fit what we're trying to do, and both guys making a huge immediate impact. And I think that they're both going to make big impacts going down the stretch as well. So
one play I do want to point out for Preston Smith was, I think it was maybe his second play in the game, and Washington was driving down the field. Eckler pretty much had a walk-in touchdown. Preston Smith chased him down. I know they ended up scoring that drive, but just seeing things like that, like Preston Smith literally all out, chased him down, tackled him at the 3-yard line. He scored 2 plays later. But just seeing things like that, like, it just shows that, like, when we look for an outside linebacker, we look for a type of player. And he fits the mold perfectly.
To a T.
And to have 4 guys now, like Nick Herbig's coming back this week, to have 4 guys, well, Alex Highsmith's down, but 4 guys when healthy that are all able to rotate in and we don't lose much, like, that is huge. Like, we were also talking about Nick Herbig not great against the run. Preston Smith's good against the run.
Oh, yeah.
He's good against the run, and he can rush the passer. So just adding him to the rotation is just key, and that's going to be huge going into these last 8 games, 6 in the division. Like, going to be huge.
Mike Williams. That's what.
Yeah, that's what George Pickens said.
That's what George
I was going to
Pickens
point
said.
that out earlier. But
But man, I bet you it's just a breath of fresh air for him. Like, just
the red line.
Yeah. Hashtag red line. But just for him to like catch a critical pass for the game-winning touchdown, it's just for that to be his only catch was the craziest thing. And it's just, I just like seeing the team when they're happy. I've never seen George Pickens this happy, because I never seen him talk about, especially like how they have sights and sounds for the Steelers games. I never seen him talk about like another receiver like he did with Mike Williams. So I'm just excited to see him and like GP and Mike Williams on this, like, just on 2 different sides. How can you guard that?
And I also, like, I want to, on top of that, George Pickens, like, being happy about it, like, he, like, you can see he was super happy about it. It's only going to open things up for him as well. But at the end of the game, too, when we got that offsides call, like, the whole team, like, I haven't seen that from the Steelers. Like, even when we're winning games and stuff like that, like, that's just good to see, like, Mr. Unlimited doing the AB dance, and like McCormick swinging his arms, and everybody pointing first down. Like, Najee Harris was back there like, what happened? Like, bro, that is so good to see. And like you said earlier, it was like a playoff atmosphere this game. Like, that is what I want to see after we win close games like that. Like, once we beat the Ravens this weekend, I want to see the same thing. All right. But Mike Williams, dude, huge addition. That catch, he said he didn't run that route with Mr. Unlimited yet. Russell Wilson.
I was about to say, Russ told him on the sideline to just do a go
He
route.
also said in his interview today, I don't know if you saw it, in his interview today, he said he didn't know much of the playbook or didn't know much of it. Like, people were telling him what to do. Darnell Washington helped him out on one play earlier in the game too. So just to see him catch that ball and, like, off of knowing nothing, he was just running a route. Like,
I was about to say, because one of them plays, Najee definitely like bulldozed him over.
Yeah,
He
didn't know.
probably was like, "What's going on?"
He ain't used to all that, but all in all, team is red hot. 4 wins in a row, averaging over 30 points the past 4 weeks. If you take the Steelers' offense from week 6 when they beat the Raiders up until now, I mean, you're talking about a team that is ranking top 5 offensively in those span of games. Again, are they playing the best teams when it comes to the Raiders, the Jets, and the Giants? No, they are not. But the Commanders were a true test on the road. Another team that was red hot, and the Steelers went in there and got it done. So.
Also, you Steeler bandwagon fans that want to jump on the bandwagon, the application is over. All right, it's been over since I say
Bye week.
bye week. Yeah, bye week was your last chance. You can't get on now. I want to hear that same stuff. Steelers are going to be in last place. Steelers wasn't going to be a good team. This is going to be the first year that Mike Tomlin be under 500. Where's all this noise now? The over-under at the beginning of the year was 8.5. So.
Yeah, I took that over. One thing I did want to point out, I sent you guys this earlier. The 33rd team on X put this out there. The Steelers are scoring 23.9 points per game. That's the whole season, and allowing just 16.2 points per game. The last time they were scoring 21 plus a game while allowing less than 17, they made it to the Super Bowl in 2010. Lost that one, but we won't talk about that. And the time before that, they won it in 2008. So I'm not saying it, but the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, people still think that we're not going far.
No.
So,
man, I was just hyped. I was hyped to see that. Man.
Well,
this team is
listen,
hot.
people can say what they want, but they're going to know after this weekend whether the Steelers are legit or not. Because the arch rival Baltimore Ravens come into town. The Ravens are sitting at 7-3. We're at 7-2, leading the division. And fellas, this is a big game. Trey, I'm going to start with you. I want to know your initial thoughts with this matchup.
Man, it's Ravens week. I was excited for this game immediately after we won that game against the Commanders. I have a bunch of friends that are Ravens fans, so just talking crap to them all year. It all comes down to this week, and, we play them again, but it comes down to this week. My biggest thing about this game is the Steelers like to play defense, and the Ravens not so much. And I think that's where my biggest matchup comes. Like, the Ravens are 32nd in pass defense. We finally have a pass offense. Man, I'm excited to see this game because I really think that our pass offense can go off against them. I think the moon ball is going to be working for Russ. We're going to score points. One thing I am a little scared, not really scared, but because we usually play well against Lamar Jackson, is just our defense. Like, people might think that our defense isn't going to do as well as, or it's going to look like they're not as good as they are because they're playing the top offense in the NFL. I did want to point out this, okay, because everybody's like, Lamar's so good, blah, blah, blah. Lamar is great when he's not playing the Steelers. When he's playing the Steelers, he has a 1-3 record against the Steelers. All right, he has 4 total touchdowns, 4 total, 0 rushing touchdowns. All right, 7 interceptions, 5 fumbles. He has a completion percentage of 59% and a passer rating of 66.8, and was sacked 20 times against the Steelers. You don't see that. Like,
That's in 4 games.
That's in 4 games is what I'm saying.
So wait, you said 7. I don't know all the stats off the top of my head. You said 7 interceptions, 5 fumbles,
Yeah,
right?
so 12
That's
turnovers.
12 turnovers in 4 games.
Well, not turnovers necessarily. They might have recovered it, but still, he had a potential of 12 turnovers with the fumbles. I don't know if we got the fumble.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
But he
very
fumbled
true.
it 5 times, and he has been sacked 20 times. Like, you don't see Lamar getting sacked like that, especially in 4 games. You don't see him turning the ball over like that against anybody else. But when it comes to the Steelers have his number, and I hope it continues to be that way. But I'm very confident in this game. I think it's going to go our way. But I don't know what y'all think. But I am excited. I'm excited to be able to talk crap after this game. I think it's going to go in our favor.
It's Ravens week, and I just want to say this and start off with this. You Ravens fans are pathetic, all right?
Oh.
And let me just start by saying this.
Can I stop you just for 1 second?
No,
I got to stop you. You did this last time.
I don't care. I'm going to do it again.
All right.
I'm going to do it again. Look, you always and forever will be our little brother, all right? I don't care what y'all got going on. You lost twice to you're 0-2 the Kenny Pickett. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't care about y'all explosive offense with Derrick Henry, which you helping me out in fantasy. But Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that's cool. That's cool and all. Y'all got Deontay Johnson.
Mike Tomlin doesn't even know who
Mike
that is
Tomlin
anymore.
we don't even have film on the dude. We don't care. So what I'm trying to say is your defense sucks. All right? It's terrible. Even Marlon Humphrey on his podcast know it's terrible.
Like, yeah.
So I just want to say this. And then I get to my point. You'll never go. You're not going to no Super Bowl, all right? I'm sorry, Trey. You know, y'all in the playoffs remind me of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh.
You are just second round exit team, okay? So I just wanted to get that off. Now, like I was saying, back to normal. My biggest thing about this game is Russell. Yeah, I just jumped back like that.
Wait, what did you say? You said Russell?
Yeah, Russell. It's my biggest thing. Because like I said this in the group chat. This game first of all, this game will tell me everything I need to know about the direction of this team, because this is a matchup we probably will see 3 times this year, possibly. So Russ playing in his first divisional game against the Ravens.
I can't wait.
If he goes out and balls out like Trey really wants him to do,
You want him to too, man.
I do, because I want him to win. But if he balls out like you say he will, I will be on the Russ train.
Let's go, Mr. Unlimited. Judy, what you got? That's hard to follow up, bro.
I just wanted to
Well,
it's 3 teams that I hate in the NFL. It's the Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Baltimore Ravens.
well, you didn't give the Falcons that business going into week 1. You did it to the Cowboys and we lost.
We did it for it. The team did it for me.
Either way. I don't think the Ravens defense is as bad as we're making it out to be. Like,
Pass defense is.
But again, like they're getting exposed by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Like, let's not act like the Ravens are just getting thrashed week in and week out, because they're not. And on top of that, yes, they are the 32nd ranked pass defense by yards. That doesn't include takeaways. That doesn't include interceptions. That doesn't include other things like that. They let up yards. 100% they do. But they're also either the number 1 or the number 2 run defense in the league. How do we set up our passing game, fellas? Through the run. So if we can't get the run going, what do you think that they're going to play towards? The pass and the play action. I'm not so gung-ho that we're just going to go in here and put up an easy 25-plus points. Let's not forget, right? The Ravens with Lamar Jackson have always had a really good offense. And last year, we held them to 10 points, right? It's always this kind of game with these guys. It's always a physical, beat-you-up kind of game. And I'm just not willing to go in here so confidently because their defense has struggled against a really good offense in the Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, which I would argue quite possibly could be the best quarterback-receiver duo in the entire NFL, the combination of the two.
Oh, it is.
And just sit here and say that we're going to go and do the same thing. Like,
But
I'm not – listen, I think we have a really good chance to win this game. I think this is a huge game, but this is such a 50-50 game to me that I'm not willing to go in here and it's not a time for me to get disrespectful. I don't need that karma, that bad juju to come back on me because, brother, that already hit us with the Cowboys, man, and I can't deal with another Cowboys
That's
game.
different. That was different. That was a little different.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, I'm also sitting here thinking about it from this perspective as well. It's like, yeah, Russ has looked really good, but at some point, like, he's not going to have a good game. You know what I mean? Like, even the best even Big Ben in his best years, had an off game. Russ is bound to have an off game.
Junior, I wanna point this out because you said a lot of their statistics are probably a little skewed from playing the Bengals twice. Do you know what Jameis Winston did to these guys? Do you know what Jameis Winston did to these guys? His first game back, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But that's also
to Cedric Tillman. That was the Browns' top receiver.
Hey, Cedric Tillman's like that.
Come on, Junior.
Okay, yes, they played the Bills very tough at the beginning of the year, but they also lost to the Raiders at home. And I just want to pull up these stats too. Gardner Minshew threw for 276 on him.
Also, I know you're saying it's just Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow threw for 400 yards, and Jamar Chase by himself had 280
That's facts.
with 3 touchdowns.
That's all. Listen, everything y'all are saying is facts.
I get it, though.
I'm
It
just
is a
telling
divisional
you.
game. I will say
it's
this.
No, it's not. It's not even. It's not about the AFC North. It's really not. The Bengals are in the AFC North. It's not about. It's not about the division. It's about this rivalry
I get
and what
that.
this rivalry means and the history between this rivalry and how much Harbaugh knows Tomlin, how much Tomlin knows Harbaugh. Like there is bad blood here. Like,
But you know the difference?
they got former Steelers on their team. We got former Ravens on our team. There's a lot of bad blood. I just don't. I'm not confident about anything in this game.
But you know the difference from past years and this year? You know, it was always something to be scared about was their defense. Are you actually scared of their defense? Over the years, it's always been our defense versus their defense.
I was gonna say that's one
care.
difference that I'm seeing.
I don't care if the Ravens have the worst defense in the league. They will step up and play their best game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I will say this. To Junie's defense, this game's probably going to end up being a 17-10 game because that's what it's been the last 3 years. 17-10, 16-10. It probably will end up being that. But looking at it, I'm like, there's no way. I think this one might be closer to a shootout.
I don't care what the stats say. I mean, the last 5 weeks of the NFL, these are 2 top 5 offenses. Like I said earlier, when you take the Steelers from week 6 on, especially with Russell Wilson, I mean, this has been a very high functioning offense. I do not care. I don't care. This is Steelers Ravens. This is the biggest rivalry in the NFL, and what they pride themselves on is beating the ever living shit out of one another. Excuse my language, but that's just how this game goes, and I don't think it's any different. I think it's outside of an outlier here and there every couple of years. It's always a 3-point game. It's always low scoring, and it always comes down to the fourth quarter. And I'm not changing my tune on that. I think that's how it's going to be.
Well, I think it's going to be that way too. In past years, whether I seemed confident about it or not, I was never confident about this game, like feeling good about this game. I shouldn't say confident, feeling good about this game. This is 1 year, like, even though they're having a great offense and they're having a great year, this is 1 year that I'm, like Juwan pointed out, their defense is not near what it's been in the past however many years. We used to go into this game top 2 defenses. Now we're looking at top 5 offenses going against each other, and one good defense and one not so great defense. So that's just like where I'm at, like mixed up a little bit, but I see what you're saying, Junie.
I think if we're being real with ourselves, though, I mean, you're talking about a discrepancy between their defense and our defense. I mean, I'd say you could say the same thing about, our offense and their offense.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, they have Lamar Jackson, who is on pace to win his 3rd MVP this year. You have Derrick Henry, who at one point, I don't know what his pace is now, but he was on pace to rush for 2,000 yards again. Zay Flowers has emerged. Mark Andrews has hopped off the schneid, and he's been playing really well the last couple weeks because he's getting over his injury. Not to mention Isaiah Likely and what he's doing. They go out and get Deontay Johnson. Was Mike Tomlin's comment about Deontay funny? Yeah, it was.
It was
until they use him against us, and he knows this team as well as anybody else.
You're not wrong.
And so I'm not going in cocky in this game. I know how we play Lamar. It's been 5 years since Lamar Jackson has beaten us. 5 years. But again, I'm not overlooking it, and I'm not taking this team lightly whatsoever. I just can't do it.
So go ahead and give your prediction.
I'm not doing predictions yet because we do have questions.
You're right.
And we're going to hit our questions first in this matchup. Before we get into our official predictions, we'll hit Steal of the Week, and then we will wrap this week's episode up.
All right. So we actually have 3.
Okay.
Two questions, 1 comment.
All right. There we go.
All right. So my first one is from my boy Malcolm in Atlanta. He said, what are your realistic expectations for this year? What would be a successful season?
I'm saying, looking at this team right now, I'm saying making it to the AFC Championship. Making it. Winning 2 playoff games.
If Malcolm's talking about being realistic, I think an AFC Championship appearance would. I don't think that's the likely outcome. I think what the likely outcome and the expectation should be is to win a playoff game and to be competitive throughout the playoffs and not get blown out and blown out the water and just completely disrespected. I think realistically finishing the season at 11-6, being in the divisional race the final week of the season and winning a playoff game should be the expectations for this team.
My expectation is winning the division and winning at least 1 playoff game. But I think I think it'd be a letdown if we don't make it to the AFC Championship, in my opinion.
Okay.
See, I think that I'm kind of on the same boat as Trey, but I wouldn't say AFC Championship. I think that
That's winning 2 playoff games.
Us winning the division and the at least 1 playoff game.
Yes, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just saying, I think we get to the AFC Championship, I'm content with the season.
There we go. All right, next question. All right,
next one is from Burnsy.
Yep, he's a Ravens fan. Shout out Mark.
He said, no question, put up your dukes. About to be a fight.
Sure is.
I wouldn't want it any other way, brother.
Sure is.
Yeah,
What's his name?
right.
Mark?
Mark, yeah.
All right, Mark. We'll see about it. Put your
We'll
dukes
see you
up, baby.
Sunday.
Put your dukes up.
I can't wait. He messes me all the time about Steelers stuff. He actually, I think he's low key a Steelers fan because he'll always be like, the Preston Smith signing and the Michael Williams signing. He's like, those are good signings, man. I'm like, I know you're a Steelers fan. Don't hide it.
All right, and last but not least is from my pops. Shout out to you.
One of the biggest Steelers fans out there.
He says, now this is a detailed question. He says, teams have been spreading us and forcing nickel defense, which leave us with 2D linemen on the field. How successful can that be against the Ravens?
I did see one way.
Very good question.
I did see one way we countered it. All right, you did not see much of Peyton Wilson on the field, even in down packages.
I was going to say
I
that.
don't even think was he playing?
Very rarely.
He didn't play that much.
And I don't think he'll play much this game at all. They had Atlanta Roberts in there, and Atlanta Roberts played well in both pass rushing against the run, and he also played well in pass coverage. Him and Patrick Queen kind of rotated. One would blitz in dime. We blitzed a lot more this past game, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that this game. I think that's going to be our counter. We'll have either Keanu, Larry, and Cam, and then we'll have TJ and Preston Smith on the outside.
With a little bit of Herbert.
With a little bit of Herbig, depending on if it's a true pass down. But if they try to spread us out early in the down and distances, I think you'll see Atlanta Roberts in there. You'll see Patrick Queen, then you'll see those 4 guys.
I got a little bit of a different response. I was going to mention what Trey mentioned about Landon Roberts and his uptick in snaps in this particular matchup. I do disagree with Trey, though. I don't think we blitz a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of 4-man rushes. The one difference in this game, though, that I feel that we're not going to see in a lot of games is the fact that the Ravens use 2 tight ends a lot.
Yeah.
They use Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely quite a bit. And I think that that's going to give us the ability to be in our base defense more often than we typically are. So, in a sense, I think, Landon Roberts being in the mix is going to help against the run game. But at the same time, if we have, Keanu, Ogunjobi, and Cam more frequently, I think that that's going to be what kind of hampers Henry a little bit more. I just think we're going to be in base more of a percentage of a time than we normally are in nickel, because the Ravens use a lot of two tight
I
end
do want
sets.
to point that out too. We did run a lot more base this past game, even when they did spread us out. We did run.
I
a
did
lot
notice
of base.
that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Trust your athletes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for our official predictions in this game. Juwan, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Confident.
With this being the biggest rivalry in the NFL, in many opinions, and with it being very close games, I got us winning. I have us winning 16-17.
16 to 17.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. If you actually see the last few years, it's been 16-17 or 17-10, 16-10,
13, yeah.
stuff like that. So I'm going 17-16 Steelers.
All right. Trey?
All right. So
All that big talk for a game, and man,
That's a game.
Yeah.
that's a game, but
I mean, I have it being a little higher scoring than that, and I think this kind of like breaks the mold of the low scoring games that they've had the past couple of years. I have us winning, and I think we win by a touchdown. I have us winning 27-20.
okay. All right.
Can we go 3 for 3 again this 2 weeks in a row?
Bro, listen. We've owned the Ravens the last 4 years. We're 7-1 against these guys. Dog them all the time. Even when they're a significantly better team than us, we always somehow find a way to win. But in those instances, it seemed like our back was up against the wall. And right now, I think we're being put on a pedestal. And every team that is a contender always needs a wake-up call. And I feel like this game might be the Steelers' wake-up call. And with all that, I'm picking the Ravens. I think the Ravens win this game, and I got the Ravens winning 20-21. I think it's a 1-point game. I think it's a Justin Tucker walk-off field goal kind of game.
So you get what?
I don't know, guy. Like sometimes I just get bad feelings about.
You're gonna go
some
for.
of these
They're gonna
games.
go for 2 at one point.
No.
To get 21-20, you're gonna need something.
21. Well, 21-20 is 21 is. Oh,
3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You said Justin Tucker walk off.
yeah, maybe. I don't know how it's gonna get there. I just don't think it's gonna be too high scoring. I think it's just gonna be an odd configure. Like remember last year when Kenny Pickett threw the ball to George Pickens?
Yeah.
I mean, we made that score what 10-8. What was it? 10-8.
Something like that.
But like, it's gonna get crazy. I'm going 21-20. Ravens barely get it, but in the long run of things, I think that this is a wake-up call that the Steelers need. I think it's a humbling that they're going to need because I think they're coming in a little too high on their pedestal. Sometimes you need a butt kicking to wake up and to drive it into high gear down the home stretch. I think that this is that game. I think they're competitive. I think they still look good. I just think the Ravens barely eke it out. And then maybe we get them on the second time in Baltimore. So that's where I'm at with it.
All right.
Steal of the week.
Steal of the weeks.
Trey, bring up the odds. What are the odds? What's the line?
I want to put this out there real quick. Last week I put $100 on the Steelers money line to win $224
Against the Commanders?
against the Commanders. Yes, I did. And I didn't sweat it one bit. I wasn't sweating, was I? I wasn't sweating. I had no doubt.
This man kept refreshing FanDuel every 2 minutes.
I almost cashed out. I almost cashed out about 3 different times. I'll just say that. So the line for this game, I might do the same thing. Maybe not $100, okay? But the Steelers are at home, and they're 3-point underdogs at home. Mike Tomlin went an underdog at home, or an underdog anytime is usually a pretty good bet. The Steelers are 3-point underdogs. The over-under for this game is 48.5. There's obviously no player props right now. It's Wednesday, so yeah, the player props are not out right now. I will say last week, guys, our Steal of the Weeks, y'all had Pat Freiermuth touchdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What did you have?
I had Jaylen Warren touchdown too.
Which so close.
So close.
I had George Pickens a touchdown and 80+ yards. He had both, so we did pretty well. So if y'all want to start tailing us, go ahead. But yeah, for my Steal of the Week this week, man, this is a tough one. Najee didn't practice today, but I'm still going to take Najee anytime touchdown score. He seems to always have a touchdown against the Ravens, whether it's early in the game or late in the game. He had that touchdown catch from Kenny Pickett. What was that, last year?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years
Kenny's
ago.
rookie year.
He had a rushing touchdown against them, I'm pretty sure, last year in one of the games.
In the last game of the season,
Yeah.
in that
So
monsoon.
Yep. So I'm going to go Najee Harris anytime touchdown score. I'm also going to go Mike Williams. All right, he's going to catch a moon ball or two from Mr. Unlimited. I'm going to go Mike Williams to have 50+ yards. Calvin Austin's a little injured. Mike Williams gets another week to prepare with the Steelers offense. So I think Mike Williams will be a big factor in this game. They haven't seen him on the Steelers offense besides that one touchdown. So give me Mike Williams, 50+ yards, and a Najee Harris anytime touchdown score.
All right. Well, since you brought up Mike Williams, I got Mike Williams anytime touchdown. I can see it happening again. It's going to be one of them moon balls to him. I also have Deontay Johnson scoring a touchdown.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have
I hate
Deontay.
that.
I got Deontay Johnson scoring a touchdown.
I don't like that.
And
Minka might take his head off, but sure.
Yeah.
I will say Deontay Johnson over on drops in this game as well.
And then that's messed up. And then I have Lamar Jackson getting an interception from Patrick Queen.
Oh, pick six like Robert Spillane a couple years ago.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
That would be so
In the clutch
poetic.
moment,
Poetic.
after Renegade, he used to. That would be crazy.
sick.
All right, I got three. I got three here. I am going for a bounce back. I'm doubling down from last week. I'm saying Jaylen Warren scores in this game. I think it's going to happen. I'm a believer in Jaylen Warren, and with the stout run defense that the Ravens do have, if there's one good thing about this defense, it's the way that they guard against the run. I feel like Najee has had his way against the Ravens a lot the last couple of years, and I think Jaylen is going to be that spark that wants to bounce back, wants to get the ball back, wants to redeem himself. And so I got Jaylen Warren scoring. I am also going to go the under in this game. 48.5 points. Are you kidding me? In a Steelers-Ravens game? Yeah, I'm gonna take the under, especially with the Steelers at home. If this was in Baltimore and they have the home field advantage with their offense, maybe it's more of a shootout. But in Pittsburgh, I think they're gonna keep it low scoring. Me and Juwan are in that same boat. So give me the under. I think 48.5 is way too many points. And then lastly, Arthur Smith early in the year talked about this hypothetical dam that breaks in the offense, right? You remember him talking about that, guys?
I do.
Well, I think the offense in general, the dam has broken. Can we all agree on that?
Uh-huh.
But in this whole waterway system that is the Steelers' offense, there is this little dam, right, off to the corner, and there was so much hype about this little dam in the beginning of the season, and I just think there's so many cracks in this dam, and I think there's like water like starting to overflow, right? And I'm really building this up. Pat Freiermuth over 50 yards. Every beat reporter, everybody that covered the Steelers in training camp talked about hitting Pat Freiermuth down the field, down the seam on these long balls, and we haven't seen that all year. All year we haven't seen Pat have like a big receiving kind of game. He's been getting touchdowns. He's been a red zone threat. But the way Harbaugh took away George Pickens last year and the way Pickens has been playing since Russell Wilson's been at the helm, I feel like Harbaugh's going to try and take away George Pickens completely in this game. Watch out for Pat Freiermuth over the middle. I've been saying it over and over, and I'm gonna keep saying it till the end of the season, and until it happens, Pat Freiermuth's dam is about to break, and I think it's this week. So give me Pat Freiermuth over 50 yards receiving.
I got one more, and now this is a real bold one. So hear me out. I have Justin Fields for anytime touchdown.
Oh,
They don't even give you they don't even give you those odds anymore. Like I told you, I was looking for those odds when they like called Russ in. I looked for those odds. They don't even give you those, but
I have Justin
like
Fields. I can see them doing a trick play in the red zone
I could see it.
with Justin Fields.
Pull a little Lamar on
Yeah.
the Ravens.
I'm trying to tell you, it's gonna be something crazy like that in the red zone.
I like it.
He's back healthy. Watch.
either way, by around 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, we're going to know who the Kings of the North are. Is it the Steelers? We sure hope so. Is it the Ravens? Really hope not. But all in all, this is going to be a huge matchup. All eyes are going to be on this slate. By the way, great slate of games. Chiefs, Bills in the second round of games. Monday Night Football, Chargers, Bengals is going to be a great Sunday worth of football.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, Tomorrow
Commanders,
night.
Eagles. It's going to be. I mean, we got some great games this week, but I wouldn't say any of them are going to be better than this game coming up. Just with the history, the rivalry, and the way these two teams are playing right now, it should be an epic showdown at Acrisure Stadium. But hey, for the Stealing with the Boys podcast, that's all we got for today's episode. We are out.
Beat them birds.
Dirty Birds week. I'm throwing 50 on the Steelers. Here we go. Locked in, baby. Let's go.